Hi, this is the second part of this little Regis amplifier restoration series. Right, I started stripping this down and a few things more I found that you maybe want to check if you're doing your own. This resistor here was knackered, we know that. This one tests out okay, so hopefully I can save that one. The input socket there, I'm going to change it. I never leave these in. Fit a new socket on there and a new plug because you can't get the plugs anymore. So, and if you've got, it's all finished and you've got a dodgy connection there, you're a bit stuffed. So I just changed that, put an XLR socket in there. You can buy them in Maplin's or online or anywhere, and they fit more or less in the same hole. So that's that. Turning the amplifier over, a couple of other things I've noticed in it now. Mute relay, whether that can be saved or not, I don't know. Someone's tugged on it and pulled it. I'm going to test that, and if possible I can try and rewrap that one and re-glue it, and it should be okay if it tests okay. Got these pots here which are wire wound 75 ohm pots, and they're the AVC control pots. Unfortunately both knackered, and 75 ohm is extremely difficult to get in the UK. I can get them in America, of course, as always, but can't get them here. 100 ohm or 50 ohm is going to have to go in there. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm going to have a look at the circuit. What else is there to say at the moment? Obviously everything more or less now stripped out underneath. That is as far as I go with stripping it out. Everything else will be done. The outside will be redone, all the new components on, and then when I last all back on, then I start on this. If you take it all out now, you're going to get confused, basically, or I am anyway. It's not worth it. I mean, okay, if you were doing an absolute concours restoration, which this is not going to be, then okay, you could take all the valve sockets out and everything and completely rebuild the amp. I know some people do that, but I don't go that far. I don't see the point, to be honest. Okay, so we'll turn it back over. Got the old transformers off. I had a look at them. Unfortunately the winding has not gone on the outside that I can get to, it's gone inside the transformer somewhere, so it's knackered. So I've got to put two new transformers on. Of course, rockola transformers were probably made for rockola or by rockola, and you can normally get them about the right size, but these new ones are a little bit bigger, they've got a bit more meat in them. They are the correct ones for 6973 output valves, right impedance, but they are higher rated than the old ones, so therefore they got a bit more meat in them, and it's going to be tight to get them on there. So what I'm going to have to do is going to put them right up to the edge like that, sort of. Let's see, sort of, and they're going to have to be right up against one another, just about go on like that. Obviously they've got more meat in them, they're a bit higher rated, but it's not such a bad thing. It just gives you a bit more leeway in saturation of the core with bass and all the rest of it, so you should get a cleaner bass. And then obviously they've moved this way a bit more, so therefore the capacitors are not going to go where they were. They're going to have to be moved across as well. So I'm going to put one there, and put the other one there. Now, as these output transformers will not have this output selection switch in use anymore, I'm going to put the third capacitor there. Instead of I'm going to put two dual section 20 microfarad capacitors there and a 200 microfarad capacitor there. I think it'll look quite neat when it's done. Everything else will stay the same on the amplifier as it was. It will still have the mono selection stereo switch there. It will still have the fader for machine and extension speakers there. That will still work. It's just that it won't have this wattage selection, which, to be honest, is always kept on 25 watts anyway most of the time, which was what this amp will be. It'll be on full output all the time. So there you go. So obviously now, before I can do anything else, I've got to mark out and drill all the new fixings, enlarge these holes for the new capacitors, re-drill the mounting holes for the new transformers and for this new socket, these strips here, this one there will still be in operation for extension loudspeakers. This strip won't be, because that's the old 70 volt line output connections for line speakers. I'm just going to leave this strip here, clean it up, take the screws out, but it won't do anything. It'll just be this one that's doing something. If you needed extension speakers, the actual machine speakers plug into a socket here, mono. So there you go, that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to drill it out and then clean it up, ready for painting. I've taken everything off I'm going to. I'm also going to clean all these valve sockets up. I've looked in the valve sockets, I'm going to clean them, but none are broken, so, and they never look the same when they're unriveted and put back. So I think best to leave all the valve sockets in place, leave this in place, this volume control socket, because it's held in place with a captive, sort of like a spiked, well, I don't know what you call it, it's like a spiked captive ring, and if you take them off, they never go back on as tight as what they are now, and you've got the problem that someone can pull the plug out in the future, takes the socket with it. You can glue it, I suppose, as well as put the ring back, but they never, always leave them in place, just mask them off. There's nothing wrong with the socket, leave them in place. All these sockets I'll just push down out of the way, mask them off, and when I respray, obviously they won't get paint on them, and then put them back. This lead here, I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet. It's extremely stiff, it's like a piece of concrete, this stuff. I haven't taken this tape off yet to see the state of the wires. I try to leave these original if I can. If not, if I find the cables are damaged or worn in any way, then obviously I'll replace them. Okay, so that's about it for the time being. The next instalment will be when it's drilled out and painted, and may even be able the transformers and all that mounted on. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hi, welcome to part 3 of the Regis amplifier restoration. Right, as you can see, I've now enlarged all the holes for the new components. Give it a good old rub down, a couple of coats of etch primer, a couple of coats of colour, and a couple of coats of clear. Now it's looking a lot more presentable, I think, to be fitted in the jukebox eventually. I've done it in the colour of the exterior of the Regis jukebox. I know it originally wasn't that colour, but it should look quite good in the bottom of the jukebox and matching very well. It should look quite smart when it's done, actually. Anyway, not much to say. It's painted, it's ready to have the components fitted on the top, the new capacitors and the new transformers, and then we'll flip it over and start working underneath, putting the thing back together. As you can see, I've enlarged the holes for the caps, re-drilled the transformer mountings. I haven't done this socket here because I haven't got one, so I don't know where to drill it, so I have to do that one afterwards. These here, I've drilled a couple of holes because what I'm going to do, I'm going to mount these resistors underneath the chassis, one on top of the other, because there's obviously effectively two resistors in these standees, whereas this is one. So what I normally do, I stack one on top of the other, put some long nuts and bolts through underneath the chassis, and then all you see down through the hole is this gold backing of the resistors. It works quite well, and it also will still let the heat escape straight off the back of the resistors. So that's about it for the time being, I think. I've checked all these controls, they were all fine, so they're back in. These ones here I'm going to have to replace, as I've said previously, and that's about it. Next video we'll have all the top components mounted back on, the can capacitors and the output transformers, and all these resistors and all that mounted on the nuts and bolts through, all mounted up, and then we'll flip it over and then we'll start on the underside, which is where the fun begins. Okay, thanks for watching. Hi, welcome to the next installment in this little video series of the Regis amplifier restoration and why sometimes your repair bill is quite large. So okay, so we got it all stripped, we've got it painted now, we've got the new output transformers on it, we've got the new smoothing capacitors there, we've got the new 200 microfarad capacitor there for the voltage doubler. Got some of the controls put back on, so really not a lot more to see on the top for the moment. Swinging round, so you're all the way around at it. That there is a 8 ohm resistor there. It checks out fine, so I screwed them back on. Okay, so we'll turn them over carefully. Don't want to damage the new paint. Right. So this is what we've got underneath now. Looks a right rat's nest, I know, but bear with me, in time it will go back. These are obviously all the new output transformer spaghetti here. So my first job is to get rid of all this. Connect up the speaker wiring to the fader pot that goes there and the output sockets. Do the input, the primary side windings on the transformer to the valve bases and to the HT connection. And then that'll get rid of all this then. Little tip, if you're doing your own, when you do your wiring from the output valve to the transformer, leave a bit of slack on them, because sometimes you may find that when you fire the thing up you get an almighty howl, and it's because you've got the feedback loop connected wrongly. It is hit and miss really, so leave a bit of slack on them, and if you get that, all we need to do is swap them over on the valve base and good to go. Okay, just a little tip for you there. My first job after sorting this out is this mute relay. Got to check this out, repair it if I can, if not order a new one for there. The pots that are knackered here are on order, as is the input socket. So that's basically it for the moment, I think, really. One little tip again here, this input socket has got a PEC on it, which is an encapsulated circuit really. All it is in there is a network of a few resistors and capacitors. Most important that you get rid of that. Even if you're keeping the old socket, you might be tempted just to leave that there like that. Don't look like it does much. It makes almighty difference to the sound quality of the amplifier, that little thing. So you need to replace that. The circuit for it is on the schematic of the amplifier, so it's easy to build just a little discrete circuit there. Got your diodes here for your HT. I'm leaving those. I've done loads of these amps and I've never had these go yet. They check out alright, and so I'm going to leave them. And obviously once we fire it up and everything's working, if there is a problem, that's the time to sort it. But at the moment they check out and I've never had any go yet. Same for this one here. Right, so that's that. So we get all the wiring for the transformers out of the way. We get all the HT side connected up, all the new capacitors and all the rest of it. Then that get rid of all this rat's nest then. Then I can see what I'm doing then with the rest of the amplifier. And the way I work, up to you how you work, I start this end, I go top to bottom, all the way through to the input stage, checking and replacing as I go. One component at a time, probably best, especially if you've never done an amp before. Just swap one for one and you can't really go wrong, as long as you put the right values back in, of course. And check all the resistors. They may look fine, but I guarantee that if you check them, they would have drifted away from their original values. Some capacitors are a bit hard to find. These ones here are quite hard to find. I've got some new old stock ones. They're a bit of an odd value. They're 4 microfarad, not 4.7, they're 4. So they are a bit hard to find, but you can get them. I've got some that I managed to find. Everything else is pretty standard values really, apart from these damn pots. So there you go, that's about it for the time being. Next time you see this amplifier, hopefully all this will be got rid of, connected up. It'll have all new capacitors all the way through it. That'll be repaired. All the resistors will be checked and if needed replaced. Matter of course, always replace plate resistors and cathode resistors as a matter of course. Don't even bother thinking of leaving those, always change them. And that's about it, I think, for the time being. Thanks for watching. Hope you're finding this little series interesting. And hopefully next time you see this, it'll be finished, and the next stage after that, it'll be testing and inspection. Okay, thanks a lot for watching.